Glad you made it back, everybody. The Biden regime's wokeness, unsecured borders are wiping out whole communities with deadly criminals, drugs, and sex trafficking, not to mention historic illegal immigration. In an effort to defend themselves from the federal government, states are taking matters into their own hands. Last night, Attorney General Ken Paxton, along with 20 Republican states, filed a preliminary injunction against Biden's illegal parolee policy, a visa program which invites hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens from, well, 4 foreign countries to, quote, be paroled and let loose into the United States every year. In short, it solves illegal immigration by making it legal. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joining me now. Sir, before we get to all of that, I want to ask you this question off the top because it's kind of breaking overnight and kind of shocking to me, and something I know that's been on your radar screen, our censorship here on Newsmax. Biden's own FCC nominee, Gigi Sohn, who is a lifelong progressive, She says she's very troubled by Newsmax being removed by AT&T and DirecTV. Watch.
There's another issue that is right in the FCC's wheelhouse, which, Senator Cruz, you just put out a statement about a little while ago, and that's the deplatforming of Newsmax and OAN. I don't know why DirecTV deplatformed them. I spilled blood trying to get them on platforms. The predecessor to OAN called Wealth TV, but also Newsmax. So I'm very troubled by that. But I fear that there may be some competitive issues at play. I don't know the actual facts, but I think it's something the FCC should investigate.
I do, and I think Congress should be investigating as well. But keep in mind that that's a woman who I would classify as a traditional liberal who believes in free speech, a nominee for Joe Biden, and just goes to show you that this issue is it's bigger than any political party. It boils down to good old-fashioned American debate and American and lack of censorship and American free speech, no?
No, look, if it can happen to conservative outlets, it can happen to liberal outlets. There's no reason if we have a different administration, if this is authorized, why wouldn't they do the same thing on the other side? I think it's all wrong. I agree with her. I'm actually very encouraged to hear her say the words that she said, that she's concerned about Newsmax and OAN being cut off. And I also agree that Congress should investigate this. I think our own Texas House and Senate should call for investigations of this. This is a company that's headquartered in Texas. And they should at least answer the question of why they're doing it and why they're treating Newsmax and OAN different than they treat MSNBC and CNN, other liberal networks.
Right. I mean, if the positions were reversed, let's just say that there was a big platform that happened to be under conservative management and they booted off CNN or MSNBC. Do you think that the progressives would be taking this lying down? And by the way, conservatives would have the intellectual fortitude to get out there and say, hey, we believe in free speech. Even though we disagree with what they say, we fight for their ability to say it. Let me move on to some other things. On what basis are you challenging Joe Biden's most recent breach of law in trying to grant his parole program, basically making illegal immigration legal?
Well, he's the president of the United States. He doesn't have the authority to just make illegal immigration legal, which is exactly what he's doing here. That would be up to those people elected in Congress, the House and the Senate. They can do it. But the Biden administration has zero authority. It's completely a violation of his constitutional role, which he obviously, this is what you call another constitutional workaround where he just makes it up and then makes us go stop him. And that's what we're going to do. This is illegal. It's adding another 360,000 or so new people, and it's going to be costly and expensive, and he has no authority to do it.
Yeah, I think that should be his new bumper sticker for, his 2024 campaign. If it's illegal, it's Biden. In your recent op-ed for Newsweek, you condemned the Biden administration for, quote, the alarming deterioration of our constitutional order under Biden. Isn't it unfair, lawless, and sad that the states are forced to basically fight against the federal government that's an adversary? And we're actually forced to fund it as well. But the states have to put up money to the federal government, which turns out to be an adversary to the states and not an ally.
No, it's actually hard for me to believe. It's like they view us as the enemy. They don't worry about the consequences to my state or any other state of the crime, the cost. They're encouraging it. And it's hard for, I think, American people to really understand this is a president administration that is not for them. They are actually working to harm us. And I think it's hard to believe that. But that's the reality of what is going on. if you look at the facts, if you look at the consequences, they are doing everything they can to harm my state.
Right. From illegal immigration to actually the most vulnerable in our state, yours and my state, the great state of Texas. Because it's not just the border you're tackling. You are suing the Biden administration to stop their push for more abortions. They are relaxing, the federal government is, restrictions on these dangerous abortifacients. Why do you think Joe Biden and the Democrats are pushing these dangerous abortifacients, and how are you going to be able to stop them?
So I think they're just reaching out to their own liberal agenda and the people that support that liberal agenda. It's, they usually look to the Supreme Court. We all do, to interpret the law. The Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Dobbs decision, which said state law governs. In this case, state law in Texas is why we sued, says you can't do this. They cannot put pharmacies in the position of having to choose whether to follow the Biden administration's orders, which are illegal, or our state law. Puts these pharmacies in a terrible spot. And so we're trying to stop that because the Biden administration, again, doesn't have the right or the authority to tell us that our state laws can be violated.
Okay, last thing I have for you. These are some headlines from our great state of Texas. A substitute teacher in Boyd Independent School District, GovEd, was arrested and charged for sending nude photos to a 15-year-old student on Snapchat. And in Bishop, Texas, a teacher in GovEd was arrested for alleged improper relationship with a student. With CRT, LGBTQ, ABCDEFG, cultural Marxism, and the woke equity infecting GovEd, how can members of the GOP in the Texas House continue to deny parental school choice after they have clearly demonstrated in the legislature that they can't give the proper oversight to these school districts?
Look, I hope that this session they do it. We've got a Republican House, we have a Republican Senate, we have a Republican governor. We have everything we need to pass these laws. And I think if COVID didn't show us anything, it showed us that we need competition to give parents the right to send their kids to where they want to send them and not have to deal with CRT, not have to deal with the very issues you just talked about. And it ought to be up to the parents to make the decision. And we have everything we need to make it happen in this session. It's just a matter of the will of this legislature to do the right thing for parents.
Yep. GovEd standards are in the toilet, as is their brains in GovEd. And I'm sorry, our kids deserve a hell of a lot better than that. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, sir, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.